Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Raw Uncovered Truth of the Awakened Soul with Nicole. And I am going to say that Source is going to have me on repeat today. So we're going to touch on definitely what's coming in, and I wrote it down, and they're actually going to let me like do one of the things that I want to bring forward as well. So that's a plus. And they're already coming in, and it's already annoying. But anyway, so we're going to go over soul recognition and basically what it is to go through the transition, right? Because nobody kind of discusses this at all. The transition through when you stop going through karmic lessons, right? When you graduate karmic lessons, and then when you step into the, integration of, receiving all your downloads of your blueprints, your soul purpose, and that whole thing, right? All your, I guess you would say dharma, but if it's not showing up in abundance, in the physical world yet, it's because you're fully in receiving mode and receiving all of these things to actually step into, that timeline, that frequency, and align with that as well. So, let's start with I don't know if I should start with coding places because that's kind of like just that's a whole other topic because but I wrote that down to trigger me to talk about that too. But okay, let's talk about let's start with soul recognition and soul recognition, your nervous system and literally going through the transition of from graduating from karmic lessons into integration mode, and that has to do with a lot of detachment. And detachment is not hating on something, not hating on a situation, not hating on a person. It's literally just going with the flow. So I had spoken about this a lot, I want to say in April, if not in March, but actually everything since the new year I have been talking about this, but like more intently I want to say like March and April, whereas things that didn't belong were falling off, right? People, places, things were just falling out of your life. And I think I mentioned this on just the episode that I dropped previous to this. Like it's like you don't even have time to think twice about the things that are falling out, and you're really not even holding the attachment to that anymore. You're letting it go. I mean, like for me, I'm like, oh wow, and then letting it go and moving on. I haven't been sad about it. It's weird because the emotions are weird because it's like you think you should be sad about something, on a human level, on a physical level, and you're not. You're just like, okay, kind of saw that coming, kind of didn't, but okay, moving on, moving forward. It's just an overall continuing to vibe, to flow. So if you're getting stuck on those things, I would say that maybe you're still a little bit in karmic contracts and going through those lessons, or you need to reach out for help. And again, use your discernment on who you go to for help. But maybe you're getting stuck in something along the way. But again, always you hold the power. So it's in here somewhere. So if you just sit with yourself and kind of figure out like what's going on, your body, your mind, your guides, and whoever else will come in and like kind of just let you know what's going on and where it is that you do have to release stuff and in order to have that detachment. Also detachment comes with yeah, you feel something coming in, right? You feel like it's somebody reaching out, it's a position coming in for you, like a place coming in for you. So many things, right? But the detachment part of that is kind of like what I would refer to as the receiving end, right? Because you have these attachments, right? You feel all of these things coming in, you know that they're there, you know that they're live. They're obviously like, on a, you're trying to reach that alignment. So you know that they're there, but you're not like so attached to that. You're not attached to that friendship, that relationship, that business, that going out to dinner even, like, you're not attached to it. You could be looking forward to it and anticipating it, but you're not, there's no anxiety, there's no attachment, there's nothing. And that kind of brings me to like how I used to be around like big crowds, right? So like even last week I was in the city. I do live in New York. I went into the city and I took my middle guy to the Empire State Building. So normally, right, and I was in church 2 days after that, like surrounded like in this whatever. But anyway, like normally that would cause me like anxiety, and it would cause me anxiety, not like anxiety as you would know anxiety. It would cause me frequency glitch anxiety, I guess you is what you could refer to it as, is that the overwhelming density of a place would just like really impact me, and I'd be like, holy crap, like and like try to even shine brighter, not by doing anything physically, just by, standing in my truth, my authenticity, and just being me. That's all it takes. Sometimes that's actually more than the majority of the time, not sometimes, that's what it takes. It just takes you being you in a certain situation, in a certain place, uh, you know, and like letting your light shine bright. So, normally, like before I graduated, let's say, I would have been like, oh my God, people are pushing into me. Like, what the fuck? Like I'm that person. Like, don't push into me, whatever, whatever. Um, you know, and like get all like skeeved and whatever the case may be. But like, I was literally at the Empire State Building. Right. And for a very long time at that, because it was so comforting. It was so calming. It was packed as crazy. But I was so calm and I was like, wow, that's when you've up leveled and you've graduated. Just for reference, the Empire State Building is a very is a grid portal. So if you do go there and you are aligned, you will feel that calm. Even if you normally don't, you will feel that calm. You will feel that like just the relaxing sensation of you could stand there all day and absorb the frequency that's literally coming in. And you're probably one of the very few that'll be standing there absorbing that frequency, where everybody else is, in that denser frequency mentality. But you're there, like, holding the light and absorbing, what's open to your field to absorb at that time. So that's that's your nervous system. Like your nervous system's calm. So that kind of brings us into let's go with that, the nervous system and like soul recognition. Soul recognition just isn't about, partners, right? And it could be business partners, relationship partners, as far as platonic or romantic. It's places, it's things, it's if your nervous system is if you approach something and your nervous system feels all whacked out and whatever, or not even approaching something, like something's coming and your nervous system is freaking out, say no, reschedule. It's okay to choose you. It's okay. No matter how high end you are, no matter what that thing is that you have coming, reschedule it, cancel it, save it for next time. Choose you, honor you. Your nervous system's telling you that it's not now. Like it's not aligned. It's either too dense at the moment. It's just not for you. Same thing with people. When people approach you, right? I mean, at this point at this stage of the game, you could sense them from a mile away. And probably you could before, but now like it's even more, like it's like, oh, okay. And you could either handle the frequency now even better, right? And just shut it down completely, or you're still having a little bit of issues with that. In any case, trust your body. If your body is reacting, even though, like even though that person's trying to come across as genuine as possible, if your body is reacting, go with your body. Go with what your frequency is, what you're vibing, the vibe. Feel the vibe. That's it. Feel the vibe of a place. Feel a vibe of a person. Feel a vibe of like something coming to you, an opportunity. Feel the vibe of literally buying toothpaste. If you want to be like go down to that, like, is it aligned with me or is it not aligned with me? And like go and Get like a different toothpaste. I mean, it truly is that simple. You're literally using your body, your intuition, your discernment, to move forward, in the stages of the game anyway. So again, you went from, being in karmic cycles and dealing with like a lot of density to now stepping into the role of, you are receiving your blueprints, you are receiving your soul purpose, you are, being in the receiving mode of aligning to your highest timeline, and you're going to keep, evolving. Again, ever evolving as humans. I can't stress that enough. Never perfect, always evolving. So, you went from like these karmic lessons that kept on repeat, repeat, repeat to like this newfound, profound you. And I did write this down because I actually posted this, I think on my personal page this morning, but it was more like, like you're you're in such like a way where you're constantly finding new versions of you, right? Like new frequencies of you, new versions of you. You're like constantly stepping into like this this new profoundness of yourself, right? You're learning who you truly are. And to me, that's like phenomenal. And I've said this like a million times. Like I go from one version, like 1 minute to another version the next. Like I am constantly evolving. And if you guys are going as fast as I am, well, I send you even more, power and fire and light than I do everybody else because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot, right? And to deal with the whole, like physical aspect of, where you are in the world, on top of that, and the balancing act. So, keep that in mind. The integration is something else, right? But it's so nice to know that you are done with your karmic lessons. And again, I don't think anyone can, well, I haven't heard anyone, I don't think, approach it as, your transition phase. And very much so, like I've said to begin with, April was the threshold, right? March was the purge. Let's start there. March was the purge. April was the threshold, and like May is just like integration at its fullest. And I will say this, I am feeling another major shift come in. I want to say it's going to be next week. It's going to be like following the full moon. So that should be interesting. I am recording this as of I think it's May 9th. I think. I don't know when I'm going to actually drop this, but I am recording this either May 8th or May 9th. I'm really not sure what today is. Um, but I'm definitely like, feeling the vibe of a major shift's coming next week. I'm definitely feeling like, the just the high vibe frequency. Um, Here's the thing, guys. If you're I don't not necessarily like a star seed. I mean, the majority of us are star seeds, especially if you're watching me. If you're more of a light worker, grid worker, and you're called to certain places, this is the thing that I wanted to touch on. If you're called to certain places like all the time, code where you're going. So if you don't know how to code yet, literally use numerology. And if you don't know that, okay, I can't really go into that. I'm not, I just know it. I don't know if I could explain it. But it's just coding where you are. So like adding up addresses, adding up, see if there's any familiar, addresses that you're going to that add up to the same numbers. Do that because most likely you're going there and you're clearing some type of grid portal, some ley line, and you don't even realize it yet. So keep that in mind because I have been tracking that as well. I don't know who told me to track it. It definitely didn't come from the physical world, but like my people are definitely on me. So, I shouldn't say my people, my beings are on me. And they definitely have me, tracking that as well as high frequency timelines and running grids, running during the collapses and trying to hold it all down. So if you're coming into that and that's coming into play as well, just know that you have to kind of switch out of that and let go of all the density that you hold from that as well. The collapses happened. I think they come across bigger and larger and on a deeper, darker level now than they actually do. You know, it was kind of like, okay, it happens, we rebuild, you know, and move on. And I think like, you know, a lot of us coming alive and awake are like, oh my God, did I hold like I'm holding all that density, I'm holding all those codes, I'm holding all the distortion. And you kind of just have to like let it go. You kind of have to unroll that, you know, yourself because everyone has a different mission. You may be more tied to Lemuria than you are to Atlantis. You may be more tied to ancient Egypt than you are the priestess temples. You know, like there's all certain, or you may just be galactically bound altogether, and you know you're here just trying to fix frequencies for the first time. You know, like rewiring the grid. So you have to, you know, that has to come into play as well. And that kind of comes in with your soul blueprint. And then you could be attached to all of those, you know, like it all depends on, you know, your role and you know who you really truly are. But you know, feel the frequency when you go to places, feel the vibe. If the vibe doesn't flow, don't go there. You know, like you may be called to return there at a later date and time. But don't go there. Like, you know, don't necessarily avoid these places, but, you know, again, check in with yourself. If you're aligned to go somewhere, go somewhere. If you're not, don't and do not hesitate to pull yourself out of that situation. You know, it's you choosing you. And don't worry about anything. And if it's, you know, if anything is if you're in a situation where, you know, people are projecting onto you for that, then you should know by now that it has nothing to do with you anyway. Like that's their projection. That's their personal issue. Like, you know, you are just being you, living in your frequency. That has so you just focus on you. I think I just came on to say like to say all of that. So high vibe frequencies, let's kind of go into that. High vibe frequencies is what we're currently in now, right? I mean, even though we're surrounded by, you know, the matrix density, we're high vibing, right? We're a high vibe frequency. I think higher and grounded than we've ever been. It's not that I think it's I know. And I'm sure the more that we absorb into our light, the more that we embody absorb, whatever, embody into our light, the more it's going to feel even higher and higher and higher. Again, don't worry about the things that are falling away. At some point, it won't even matter. I mean, like I said, it doesn't even faze me anymore. I'm just like, okay, you know, like I've come into like such a I'm like, who am I right now? But you know, it is what it is. So if you've made it this far, like pat yourself on the back because it's been a long journey. And if you had one of those shortcut journeys, which I like to call is the rude awakening, like just from like this year to like now, and you've, you know, like embodied all of this. Well, I wouldn't say that you're lucky because that's what you chose, right? That's the version you chose, where a lot of us chose the very long version. But we also got, you know, caught up in the matrix and all that other stuff where a lot of you guys chose to, you know, awaken now and align now. So you had like a shorter, smoother process, I would say. Or if not shorter and smoother, it was shorter in general. So it doesn't so take that into consideration. So again, you know, you're also when choosing you, you're glowing differently, right? Like there's no more outside validation. There's no more what you are probably doing is you know, and I catch myself doing this an extreme amount of times is I'm inside validating, right? So if especially when I'm getting like what I would say like deep level messages, I am looking for that validation point. So I'll either sit there and like ask for like a second validation, or like I'll look for something, you know, to validate what I just heard and saw. But it's more I'm not looking for it outside, right? I'm looking for it inside. I don't know if that's any better because you keep validating yourself, but you know, whatever it is. Um, you know, so keep up on that. I apologize in advance if you hear the dog barking. There's nothing I could do about that. Um, so again, so we went, you know, through the transition phase. Whereas you're leaving, you're dropping those karmic lessons, you're dropping also those karmic life times, those past lifetimes, because they're dense and you're not on that level anymore. So you may have, you know, woken up to those a lot sooner. You may have remembered a lot of those, and now you're like, oh, side-eyeing it like, and side-eyeing happens to be like my infamous favorite line that I use for everything nowadays. 'Cause I'm like, oh, I'm always side-eyeing that person and I'm always side-eyeing this place. And, like, because I know that, something's hidden there that I need to like decode. So anyway, as far as like, transition goes and being in the out of those denser timelines and whatever. It's you're side-eyeing them because you're like, oh, I don't really feel attached to them anymore because it's the detached method, number one. Number two, it's density, so it's not on your frequency anymore. So like, not that those timelines didn't matter in your overall overall soul blueprint. Wow. Sometimes I speak faster than like, like everything's coming in and I'm like speaking faster than that. Um, so it just it hits differently, right? So it's like, again, not that they weren't important at one time or another to get to where you are now, but like you're like, oh, you're on a higher, higher frequency. You're looking at things on a higher perspective, and you're looking into the more, high vibe frequency, lifetime, timelines, dimensions, whatever you want to, refer to them as, coming in, and that's basically more of, what your soul blueprint what is, what you were doing, and what your role is here. And again, your role could just be being you and putting yourself out there. And you in yourself, I was saying that right, you and yourself, right, are a frequency. We're all frequencies, we're all energy. So it's either, like we're high vibing, walking around and triggering people. And at this point, I don't even think, yeah, we could be triggering awakenings, but I think at this point in the game, we're triggering higher awakenings. So it's like, oh, you're awake. But what do you really know? Like, where are you right now? Because you're gonna need to quantum jump here for me, like kind of on that level. And I do apologize if I jumped around a lot on this video. Actually, I don't, because obviously it was meant to come out like that. So there it is. Um, so, we did soul recognition. Oh, so how about let's talk about soul recognition. I went off of, like when you know not to go somewhere and when you not to, when you know not to socialize and whatever. How about soul recognition when you do realize that you're supposed to be somewhere? Soul recognition. Let me explain the difference right now, or let me share the difference. I don't even know like how to come across with this, but imagine like maybe like a week ago or 2 weeks ago when you were still like, hanging into that denser mentality, or it could have been like, a couple of months ago. For me, it was a couple of months ago, some maybe last week, some maybe yesterday, some maybe this morning. I mean, like everybody's shifting so fast, I can't even keep up. So, like when you come across those denser people and those denser vibes and whatever, and there's always like something attached to them, like, oh, there's some karmic lesson attached, or there's something that, like is I'm supposed to learn from this person. So now when you're bumping into, I would say soul family, but it's not even your soul family. It could be somebody that just on a higher frequency, like just another high frequency being, and you feel that pureness, right? So I've caught that, well, I would say twice, but more than that, but like twice. Okay, I've caught that a couple of times. I don't know why I keep saying twice. Maybe somebody out there watching this right now needs to know that they caught it twice, and maybe you're second guessing yourself because that's literally what just keeps coming out of my mouth. So keep that into consideration. Um, However, when you come into these, you will know it is pure. There's like it's a pure frequency, it's a pure attraction. And it's not so much as, I mean, it could be a physical attraction if you are single, right? But it's not necessarily a physical attraction as it is a frequency attraction. So, you have to, well, at this point, I would think that you would know the difference between physical and frequency. Um, if you don't, then maybe you should start on season one and kind of reopen yourself because I don't know like what how else to explain it. But anyway, so you will know the difference, and it's like such a peaceful like feeling. You're like, oh, although they may not be fully awake, especially if you do recognize them as somebody who you ran in the field with, who you ran missions with, who you have known for a very long time, who is soul family, and they might not be awake yet, and you're just like, ugh. now I get this amazing feeling, but I'm the only one awake. I'm the only one, like being able to to know what's going on anyway. But still, like, that's the high vibe. That's the high frequency. That's what's coming in. That's what's coming to us now. And just be in receiving mode, right? So there's no attachment. There's detachment. And it's not in a mean way. It's not in a nasty way. It's not ego. It's not ego based. It's literally it's heart centered wholeness, right? It's oneness. It's honoring yourself. It's heart based consciousness. So always keep that in mind, right? Heart based consciousness versus ego mind. I mean, you have to know the difference by now, right? I mean, ego mind is the one that spirals out of control. And, heart-based consciousness is just more of like this warm, pure feeling in your heart. So, always lead with your heart. Even if you're getting projected on, be like, okay, buddy, and like, but I'm cool in my bubble over here, so I'm just gonna go over there. Like just stay like, you know, be humble, like be your humble self, yeah, being humble doesn't mean that you're going to let somebody walk all over you. No. That has, I mean, you're holding your strong boundaries, especially frequency boundaries right now, right? You've learned to step into those. You've learned how to activate those. You've learned how to hold those. So you have that going on. You have you're gonna still drop the fucking F-bomb, like that has nothing to do with it. You're still gonna be like, yeah, like screw with me, screw with my kids, like it's like the mother bear, gangster in you is gonna come out. Or if you're not a parent, it's your dog, like whatever, like you're not gonna be walked all over, but you are leading, with your heart, you are leading with vulnerability. You are putting yourself out there because you do have those boundaries up, and when it's okay to let all of those boundaries down, and when it's okay to just keep those up, and you could still be vulnerable, right? You could be in your authentic self, honoring yourself, leading from your heart space while being vulnerable with your boundaries up. So you have to understand that, and you have to anchor that in, and you just have to like really realize that you are coming into this, like, this new frequency of yourself. You're ever evolving, and it's amazing coming in and stepping into these higher versions of yourself. And even if you can't like see like or grasp that, like all that you have coming to you, it's there. So, like keep going, keep aligning with that. And again, you glow differently when you don't need outside validation, right? Like when you are truly standing in your power and honoring yourself, you glow differently. Whether you're a divine masculine or divine feminine stepping into your power, like you glow differently. You glow differently. And then that's all that there is to it. And I think this is just going to be like a kind of really cute short message. I don't even really know if it's cute. It's just kind of just putting it out there. But I think I'm gonna leave you guys with that. If you have any other questions, like to go in deeper with this, definitely drop them below, and I'll go into whatever topic that you need to, if and when I'm called to. But I will address it regardless, like even, like in a response to the messages. Again, or a lot of people choose to message me on the side because they don't feel comfortable putting their comments live. Which is, to each his own. You have to feel comfortable. You have to be you. You have to be true to you. It took me a lot to put my face out there, to put my name out there, to, like to really step into that. So, take the time that you need. Don't rush it. Don't push it. And again, same thing, I'm gonna stress those events that you're tied to, those situations that you're tied to, those like even if you do run a podcast and you don't feel like doing, you're not into recording that day, don't record. Wait for the energy to shift, wait for the frequency to shift, and then record, like after that. Nothing is set in stone, right? You have to go with the flow. So if your body and the flow is telling you no, then it's no, and realign yourself. Like it's not a big deal. Don't make it a big deal. Detach and move forward and move on and move higher. And that's what I'm going to leave you with for today. So, sending you guys always the extraordinary amount of frequencies in the high vibest, fire, light, truth, and what am I missing? truth and authenticity. I don't know. But let's go with that. So, stay cool, guys. Until next time. Peace out.